Hello guys, today we're going to be doing a video on Warzone Season 3. Using the RTX 2070. We're running a Ryzen 3700X with 32 GB RAM running at 3200 MHz. Alright, let's jump into the settings. We're going to be playing the game at 1080p on the lowest setting. Except for cache spot shadows and cache sun shadows. But everything else is on its lowest. Alright, jumping into it. Let's see. I don't know what to expect with this card. It's not my card, I borrowed it for like 3 days. Oh my god, so many people here. No! There's so many people in there, that's crazy. We're pulling 160 watts and pushing 120, 130 FPS, 1080p low. No longer CPU bottlenecked. Normally when I test 3700X, it kind of struggles, especially with the 3060 Ti. But with the 2070, it seems to be a pretty good pair, even for 1080p low. I'm gonna run for a little bit. What FPS we get at? Someone up there? Yep. Great. Not gonna run past this area without getting caught by them. Bad aim. Man, this gun doesn't do so well. Also, I thought it'd be doing better than this, but it's not. Okay. Frame rate is very smooth though. It's running really well. What's that VRAM? 4 gigs of VRAM. Alright, jumping into it with 1440p. We might have to start using DLSS sooner than later. Give me your block for me. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, normally with a 3060 Ti we don't really... What does it do that? Normally with a 3060 Ti we don't really have to turn on DLSS until 4K. Ray tracing, that's when we need to turn on DLSS, but maybe for the 2070 we might have to turn it on. Medium or high settings at 1440p even. We do fall into the 90s though, at 1440p low. 1080p we range between like 110 to 140. And 1440p we range between like between like low 90s to the 110s. Still great though. Might do another video with this card before I give it back. Don't know what I want to do with it yet, but probably gonna do one more video with it. I'll record the video tomorrow and then I'll probably upload it in like a week or something, or 2 weeks. I don't want to have two of the same cards too close to each other. I don't actually know where the 2070 sits compared to the 30 series, but I think it would sit with the 3060, the normal 3060. This guy, man. Okay. Just blew me up. Nice. He's healing his boy. No, I'm so screwed. It pretty much pulls the same amount of power as the 3060 Ti as well. It's like 170, 160. 3060 Ti, if you're undervolted, it will be pulling like 150, 170. Normally, it would pull like at its maximum, it would pull like 230. But its average is like 200. But undervolting is always an option. Wow, 4K we fall below 60. That's a pretty bad decline. Okay, 70 FPS when you actually land. But when you look at the map though, over the map, you fall 57. That does feel pretty laggy at this point. The mouse movement isn't the best. Wow, 52 FPS. Yeah, 4K low even, it's just out of the question for this card. But we do have DLSS, so we'll be testing that out. Starting off with the quality DLSS mode. Wow, this looks really blurry. At 4K it looks this bad? Normally it's not this bad, I don't know. DLSS is pretty inconsistent in this game. Every update seems to be like ruin something about it. I've done a side-by-side comparison as well at some point for DLSS in this game, and it looked pretty good at 4K and even 1440p, but right now it's blurring a decent amount. But FPS is doing really well. Running at 137, 130. So it's pretty much running at what we had at 1080p. Alright. These are the settings that we're playing at. It's a mix between low and medium. Playing at low settings, the game is pretty much virtually running at the same FPS. Since we are indoors, it's much easier on the GPU, so we are getting super bottlenecked. But that leaves us with a 20% extra headroom on our GPU side. So getting 130 indoors, we probably should be getting 140 to 150 FPS if we weren't CPU bottlenecked. What's up, Snoop? Dude. Get me out of here, man. This is so intense. I'm stuck in this little... Nah, he got me. Well played. I don't know if I've already said this, but we're running at 1440p now. So... That guy is sniping us up top. We are getting 100 FPS, so we lost a lot. We lost like 30, 40 FPS, even on the indoor section. Dropping down to the 90s. Okay. That's Snoop again. Yo, Snoop. What are you two doing in this corner? Dude, this is crazy. Every time. Let me see if we can sneak on. Someone's looking over the map. 91 FPS, so it's very similar to what we had indoors. Please, no. I'm dead. Snoop's gonna 70 FPS in this section. Aiming feels pretty awful though, even at 70. Game looks super sharp. I think I fixed the DLSS issue. I think I know what's causing it. Yep, that's so hard to react to that. We are playing at 70 FPS, but the movement feels very sluggish. Alright, let's go ahead and enable DLSS. See if I've actually fixed the issue. Wait, that was with DLSS enabled. Okay, let me disable DLSS and play like that then. I was gonna say we're getting 60 FPS most of the time. So with DLSS on quality, we get 50 to 70 FPS, but it still feels very laggy. I have figured out what's... Really? What's up, Snoop? But I figured out what's causing the DLSS issue. Or the DLSS quality issue. You don't want to use the in-game render scale. That will break it. Coming from 4K to 1080p, the game just looks so blurry. Plus we have anti-aliasing enabled as well now, using SMAA, I believe. And it's absolutely not helping it. It is not helping it. The visibility looks very poor at 1080p. I would not use anti-aliasing for my for when you're actually playing. 1080p kind of makes sense, I guess, since you do get some jagged edges, but if you're playing at 1440p or 4K even, I would not enable anti-aliasing. Getting 100 to 120 FPS. Let's go ahead and look over the map real quick if I don't get sniped. It does feel pretty laggy when I actually when I jump up. Oh, I'm out of ammo. You got me. When I actually jump up and look over the map, we lost 20 FPS. We went from 120 to 100, and that felt awful. This card is for sure a 1080p card, more than anything, which is, I guess, what most players will be playing at, so there's nothing wrong with that. But 1440p and 4K, once you start pushing the settings up, it starts to struggle quite a bit. We're getting 80 FPS on medium settings right now at 1440p. I think we're getting 100 FPS was the lowest that I saw it at. It's 100 to 120 FPS, so it's still really respectable at 1080p. The game feels extremely smooth for 144Hz screens. But I guess if you get used to playing at 70 to 80 FPS, like this effect is worsened because I'm playing at 140 FPS, 120 FPS, and then I'm stuck playing 80 FPS, so it obviously feels worse. But if you get used to it, probably have a good time. That glitch is gonna kill me. Bad aim. What are you camping in the corner for, boy? What are you doing? This is gonna run so poor at 4K, 40 FPS. I mean, obviously no one's gonna be playing at this. I would hope so anyway. Yeah, 60 FPS when we land. Obviously we're getting some dips into the 50s, but and aiming does not do well. The game is lagging so hard right now, but these are our settings. For max setting, everything is maxed out, I guess. Nothing to it. No ray tracing. And at 4K, we were getting a VRAM warning. We were using up like 6 gigs, I think. 6 gigabytes out of 8. So we've still got 2 gigs left, but and the game feels pretty laggy at 1080p. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It just doesn't feel as fluid as it did before. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's actually stuttering or FPS is too jumpy. It just doesn't feel as fluid as what it did before. Which makes sense, I guess. We're playing at max settings. I'm pretty sure the reason that I say it doesn't feel good is because I came from playing at 120 FPS before. I should probably start with max settings first. No way. Almost. My teammate's trolling me though. 1440p, getting 70. It seems like we're just always ranging between like the 70s to the 80s. Get sniped. Every time.
Enemy dropping into the air.
Nice. Honestly, not that bad so far. Get him, teammate. Alright, 4K max settings. This will be absolutely unplayable. But let's try that anyway. It is so laggy. Yeah, the aiming is just awful. 40 FPS, I mean, we even dip into the 30s even, wow. At Performance DLSS, game looks identical to what it did before. Looking very sharp. Very nice, and we're getting 60 to 70 FPS indoors. But just keep in mind that you might dip into the 50s if you, for example, look over the map. Okay, looking at the map over the map, it's not that bad. Still getting like mid 60s. When you get an FPS spike, the aiming feels awful. So you want to try your hardest just to get a consistent FPS going. Either cap your FPS to 60 or turn your settings down a little bit. 4K should absolutely enable DLSS. Just make sure that you have your in-game render scale to 100% and the actual resolution to 4K. Or it will appear blurry like it did before. Alright, I think I'll wrap the video here, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to listen. If you did, give it a like. That's extremely highly appreciated. See you next time.